Well-being is also more than mental health. It's physical health. It's how much does this office environment promote movement?
Jan from BodyShot Performance, thank you so much for coming in.
Hi, Graham.
I took the test this morning, which we'll get into, but
We'll get straight in.
Yeah. I can't be able to stop thinking about it.
It's obviously on your mind.
It is big time. Probably wasn't the best time to take it after a bank holiday and all that sort of
maybe
stuff.
not.
But for the audience that don't know, BodyShot Performance, what's it all about?
So we're an award-winning health and wellbeing company. We create total solutions to help optimize mind, body, and well-being. So we do two different things. One, we work with individuals across 6 or 12 months, and we focus on what we call the 6 signals of health. So sleep, mental health, energy, body composition, digestion, and fitness. So it's a very interconnected health model.
Yeah.
So sleep, for example, will profoundly impact body composition and energy, as we know, and of course fitness. But digestive health also impacts your ability to sleep well and deeply. So everything's interlinked.
Okay.
So we look at everything as a whole. And we also work with businesses, typically around 500 people. That's the sweet spot for us, to help them create a culture of energy, vitality, and performance within their business. And ultimately underpin well-being, the well-being of their people, as a competitive advantage, not a nice to have.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of businesses are taking well-being a lot more seriously.
Yeah. Or they're saying they are.
Sorry, that's what I meant to say. It's and you see it on Twitter, or people posting about we're proudly doing this, we're proudly doing that. And a lot of the time, not saying people are dishonest about it, but a lot of the time it could be just, hey, look, we're great, come work for us, because it's so competitive in London, where they actually may not mean it.
Yeah, I'm noticing that in the conversations I'm having. There's a difference between, so, for example, mental health is one that people talk a lot about, and I wonder how much teeth there is in that bite, as it were. People have really, because when you talk about mental health at work, it's about making a huge shift in culture, not just putting up a poster saying it's good to talk or get the inside out. Great slogan, and I think that's Lloyd's, and I think actually Lloyd's are putting some real action behind it. But well-being is also more than mental health. It's physical health. It's how much does this office environment promote movement? Am I encouraged to take micro breaks? Do you have walking meetings, standing workstations, maybe a meeting room with no chairs in?
Yeah, little steps like that.
Yeah, things like that. Really so some of it doesn't even have to cost a lot, but it's about a cultural change. And then educating and informing the workforce on the importance of sleep, on how to stay energized, on looking after their mental health, all that kind of thing I think is really important.
Has anyone ever measured that, right? Because from a personal standpoint, I'm more unfit now than I've been in maybe 18 months, maybe 2 years. And I feel myself being that bit more sluggish maybe, and maybe that bit slower to wake up in the morning times. That sort of thing. And so me as a person, I can kind of not measure it in percentage, but I know myself, if I did get all those 6 points back in shape, I will be a little bit more energetic. Which in turn, the work comes out better, right? Has anyone ever measured that in the business to say, once we have all our staff feeling optimal, then that increase, because people should be doing studies like that.
Yeah, I mean, some of the basic ways to measure it are through absenteeism, presenteeism, leaveism as well. It's working when you're on holiday. And we know that those figures are very high. In fact, I think the combined total cost of absenteeism, presenteeism, leaveism to the UK economy is 77 billion. Which is a phenomenal amount of money.
Huge amount of money.
But I sometimes find when I talk about that stat, it's so big, and so but that's the whole of the UK. You have to bring it down to more of a micro level. How many hours a week of productivity being lost because people are just turning up and tapping away on Ocado or Facebook. And those numbers are around. And we also know we're getting about an hour less sleep than we used to, from a National Sleep Survey stat to I can't remember what it's called, but it was a stat that was taken around the end of the Second World War that said we were getting about 7.5 hours sleep, and now we're getting about 6.49. So quite a lot less sleep. And when you think about that as 7 hours a week, less sleep than we were getting.
It's a 70 whole working day nearly of less sleep.
Yeah. And how does that translate?
It's interesting because a tip someone gave me the weekend around sleep was that he's recently got a sleep mask, and he said it's
an
not,
eye mask or
an eye mask, and he was saying it's not about light comes into the room. He said it's about once I have that on, I don't go near my phone, which is a huge thing. And I know everyone watching the show, all business owners or investors, or there's emails constantly coming in, there's WhatsApp groups, there's Slack messages that maybe you don't, especially if you work out different time zones and scaling a business, it can be quite hard to I know it happens to me. You see the phone light up, you just reach. You're just natural to reach for it. And maybe that's why people are getting less sleep. It could be technology, could be definitely playing a part in it.
Yeah.
Um,
I think there's probably quite a number of reasons. I think tech is one of the reasons. I think it's become quite cool. We're starting to unpick that. Or if not cool, accepted and normalised to say, well, I just get 6.5 hours and, that's me. There's a brilliant book by Matthew Walker called Why We Sleep.
Okay.
He's one of the world's leading sleep scientists at the moment. And he said in there that if you were to round up or down to the nearest percentage, the number of people who do genuinely thrive on 6 hours sleep or less on a consistent basis, it would be rounded down to 0. So those Maggie Thatchers, those Ronnie Reagans, both of whom got dementia in the end, by the way, and we do know that sleep is linked to Alzheimer's and dementia. It's very few people. Most of us need between 7 and 8 hours. And I think tech's playing a part in why we're not getting that, the normalisation of a low night of sleep. The fact that we're overstimulated with devices and most people finish their night with the 10 o'clock news.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's pretty bonkers. So
Yeah,
your last sort of input is fear, drama,
War,
propaganda, shame, war, terror.
It's interesting because I know amongst our audience, a big part of it is what keeps trending on Twitter now is hustle porn, right? Entrepreneurs saying, I only sleep 2 hours a night, I work all weekend, I just don't stop, I'm building my business. And that's become, in this community of entrepreneurs, that's becoming a massive issue of people being too self-conscious to say, oh, I actually got 8 hours sleep.
Yeah.
And I actually woke up at 8 o'clock and didn't wake up at 5:30 and jump on my emails early. And it's a huge issue. But then you have the other end of the spectrum, Tom Blomfield, who we're a huge fan of, runs Monzo, fastest growing company in the UK. And he said, I don't wake up before 10 o'clock. Openly says, I don't wake up before 10. I play video games. I don't work till midnight. But he's running a $2 billion company and he's 32 or whatever age he is.
Yeah, it's a great example of that. You've got, I know people like that see sleeping well as a competitive advantage. And if you think about if you're running a business and you're not getting a lot of sleep, what kind of culture are you creating there? It's not a long, thriving business, a long-lasting, thriving business when people are burning out. You've constantly got, it costs $30K to hire a new employee.
Of course.
If they're not getting enough sleep and burning out and thinking, you know what, this is not what I signed up for, then you're having to cover that churn.
Yeah.
And I think you're the engine of your business. And if you can look after, your sleep, your mental health, your energy at a bare minimum, if not those other 3 things I mentioned, then you're not only setting a great example, creating a great culture, but you're going to be around to enjoy all the benefits of it because you'll be thriving.
Let's get on to the test I took this morning.
Yes.
And we'll link it up below for anyone who does want to have a rude awakening. But I got an amber warning.
Yeah.
Right, which is really dramatic. But when I was going through it didn't register in my head by any means that what I was doing was in any way wrong until I went through the test. And I kind of went, oh yeah, I do have to have about 3 coffees in the morning time. I do. You start thinking about what you actually go through. What's the thinking behind the test? 'Cause it actually is really good to take a step back and actually be honest with yourself. Yeah. Going through it.
Well, there's that. There's being honest with yourself and asking a few 24 questions with simple yes, no, maybe type of answers. To kind of raise awareness of how one might be using things like caffeine or caffeine to wind yourself up, alcohol to wind down. A few questions around sleep. Do you have a sleep routine? Do you use something to track sleep? And the purpose of it is to give you a score at the end, and we're actually redoing the amber, the traffic light system. We're redoing the whole quiz making it a bit more personal, improving some of the questions. That's been around a couple of years, so it's getting a refresh.
Okay.
And it gives people enough information to know where they can focus their efforts, because your audience are going to be time poor, busy entrepreneurs that hopefully, and certainly if they're watching this episode and listening in, have an interest in health and recognise they're the engines of their business. But you don't have a lot of time to work on everything. So the lowest scores are the areas to focus on. For you, it was sleep, energy, fitness.
Yeah.
I would say of those 3, if you can work on sleep, you'll immediately have more energy. And any investment you're making in your fitness currently, you'll get a better bang for buck for. So
yeah, it's interesting. There's definitely a vicious cycle between interrupted sleep with me, and maybe it's the same for a lot of people out there. But interrupted sleep, you wake up, I have to have 3 coffees, I'm tired, and I don't want to go to the gym at lunchtime. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you would say fix the sleep in my case.
Yes, I would start there. I mean, our 6 signals methodology starts with sleep. We call it the force multiplier. So if you're not sleeping well, I'm trying to talk to you about fitness or your digestive health or energy levels, and you're going to be like, yep, Leanne, I'm hearing you, but I love more energy. You know,
Yeah,
it's going to
yeah.
be really hard to do. So we start with sleep, and you know what? Sleep is a really easy thing to fix, and it doesn't take a huge amount of investment of neither time nor money. So one of the big sort of takeaways I would suggest is having some sort of sleep staircase. You know, have you got kids?
No.
Okay, but you've been one, you know them.
Yeah.
And when we put them to bed, we don't make them watch the news, 6 o'clock news, right? Bath, bed, sleep. You take them through a series of steps to get them from a sympathetic dominant, excited, state to a parasympathetic dominant, rested, digested state, calm state. So we'll get them in from school, they'll play, they'll have tea, they'll go upstairs, have a bath, pyjamas, story, bed. Lots of little steps, little cues as well. The bath is a cue, the pyjamas are a cue. As adults, we don't. We come in, check the balance, do a workout, eat a meal, watch 10 o'clock news, bed, can't sleep. So it's about just creating a set of steps for yourself. So for me, I'll come in, I'll immediately change into casual clothes. I'm not super smart now, but you know what I mean. It's winter pyjamas.
Yep.
Blue light blocking glasses on to block out the frequency of light emitted by these lights and screens and so on.
And what, for watching, for just in general, or for TV?
In general, because we've got quite dim lighting in our house because I'm tuned into all this stuff. But a lot of these lights that are under, certainly in the daytime and in the evening, emit a frequency of light which is blue. It's not a colour, it's a frequency. And it suppresses melatonin. Melatonin is the hormone in the brain that's secreted to encourage us to feel sleepy.
Okay.
So the blue light blocks the melatonin, so I wear blue light blocking glasses so that I'm not getting exposed to that frequency of light.
Interesting. And
that's a key part of my sleep staircase because that immediately is stopping my brain from being encouraged to think it's still day.
Yeah.
And then a series of other little steps that it's all part of the winding down, and you've got visual cues as well. I'm on the sofa, fluffy cushions. It's my last hour of my evening.
Yeah.
I go up the stairs and I've got this sort of nightscape picture, which just encourages me. Again, it's another little cue to the body. I'm coming upstairs, there's the picture, I'm getting ready for bed.
Nice.
My brain thinks it's nighttime because I'm not being exposed to that blue frequency of light. Eye mask, I'm a huge fan of. You can pick those up for 20 odd quid. I like the sensory deprivation on the eyes, but I'm also blocking out any light that's leaking through. I've got blackout blinds, but they're not war grade, They leak light around the edges, so all that kind of stuff. And I just quite like the idea of this sort of darkness because the eye mask is pressing
I never
on my
thought
eyes.
about it until a friend said the weekend about the eye mask. And he said it's great. He says best. He just gets the best night's sleep from the eye mask. You mentioned, but just before we started filming, we were doing a sound check about your decaf coffee you went through, and you mentioned caffeine a few times.
Yeah.
Caffeine's like a huge thing amongst entrepreneurs. You see on Twitter all the time, morning coffee, obsessed with coffee, didn't have my coffee, feeling grumpy. It's like recurring theme of needing coffee. You don't drink coffee.
Well,
you
I
wouldn't
used
advise.
to. I used to be a stark contrast to how I am now, sort of wine guzzling, caffeine guzzling, 2.5 stone
At the same
heavier.
time.
Yeah. The classic sort of alcohol to wind down, although I drank a lot. I've been teetotal for 7 years. And then the caffeine in the morning to get yourself going again.
Yeah.
I've stopped drinking caffeine after a DNA test that I took, which said I'm highly sensitive to caffeine, and I process it slowly. But I don't have the genes to process caffeine very well, so it has a harmful effect.
Right.
So I went from drinking skinny lattes. I also found out with this DNA test I was lactose intolerant.
Okay.
So I thought, well, okay, I'll go from skinny lattes to, what did I go to? As a step in between, then to a white Americano, and then eventually to decaf, and black decaf. So I've gone all the way from this frothy, lovely, creamy coffee to a black decaf Americano. But I made that transition over time, and I don't want to sound like too much of a Puritan. I love a chocolate finger and a box of biscuits and everything else. But caffeine, I know genetically doesn't do me any good. I can't process it very well. It has a harmful effect.
It's
so
interesting
cut that
for me.
Out.
I was told around about this time last year. I was told that because I can drink. And I used to have this habit all the time of drinking coffee just before I go to bed. And I would drink coffee and sleep. And then people say, you're crazy drinking coffee. You're just about to go to bed. I said, yeah, I know, but I'll just sleep. But the person that was a dietitian said, you process coffee slowly, so it may take 7 hours.
Right.
And then it will hit you in the morning time.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure how true that is, what she said. But
I imagine it hits you a bit quicker, but I'm not an expert on that. Matthew Walker, again, said that caffeine has a quarter life of 12 hours. So for a slow metabolizer like me, cup of coffee at 9 o'clock in the morning will still have potentially 25% of that caffeine in my system at midnight.
Right.
Fast metabolizer, it might be earlier, but if you rounded it down to 12 hours, a cup of coffee at 10 in the morning is still just working itself out of your system at 10 at night. It stays in there a long time. I don't know how quickly the caffeine kicks in. So there may be some truth in what
Yeah,
that
yeah, no, there could
dietitian
be.
is saying.
I've stopped it since, just in case.
Yeah,
it was-
I wouldn't recommend it.
So just before we wrap up, I'm going to link below the website for people to at home, because I'm super interested to get their feedback, right, and see
Yeah.
where they come up on the scale compared to me, and
Yeah.
see where they are. So they go through that, and they do see that they're lacking in certain areas.
Yeah.
What's the next steps? Is it to get an email about the whole thing, obviously?
Yeah, so after they've done the quiz, they'll get an email with a link to a 39-page report that is changing in the next few weeks. And that will get us some basic tips on how to get better sleep, better mental health, more energy, better body composition, better digestive health, and improved fitness. The next steps from there would be have a look around the website, bodyshotperformance.com. You know, we work with entrepreneurs for 6 or 12 months.
Okay.
Products range between 6 and 10k, so it depends where an entrepreneur's at in their journey as to how affordable that is. We love to work with somebody who's already got a business that they've had for a little while. They want to change the culture within that business, and they want to embody that. And really, it's about steering away from burnout. There's two types of people we work with. They're either on this course to burnout, and we want to take them well away from that path, or they're already doing pretty well, but the business is at such a stage that they can afford to optimize their health and really go from okay to really good in terms of their health. So that would be the next stage.
Excellent.
But that said, there's loads of stuff in that report people can go off and do for free.
Okay. Well, I'd encourage everyone at home to go on and do the test, because it is, I can't stress enough, I said off camera that about 90% of the people that come in have an imbalance somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's not me being preachy, because I'm just as bad.
Yeah.
But look, thank you so much. People at home, definitely check it out, Leanne.
Yeah.
Really appreciate coming in. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks,
Cheers.
Graham.